Hello, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Kings of Fantasy Football. I am your co-host, Pablo, and here is my co-host.
Leo.
So, on tonight's episode, on this Monday night, we are going to discuss waiver wire targets for this upcoming week. So now we're going to be in week 3 of fantasy football. A lot of injuries this week. Um, my phone just kept telling me of players getting injured, so probably going to have a lot of waiver wire pickups this week. So let's go ahead and get started. Pretty much recap. Debo Samuel went down. AJ Brown went down. Cup's probably out for a few weeks. So pretty much star wide receivers are all out. So like I said, you're probably gonna have to pick up somebody on waivers. Leo, anybody major that I missed besides those three receivers?
Pacheco. On the receiver, we have Pacheco.
Oh,
That's
Pacheco.
Pacheco.
Yeah, so Pacheco, running back,
Tua.
that got hurt. Tua. So the list goes on. I
Yeah,
know a
yeah,
lot
the
of
list is long,
experts
long.
were discussing that this week. So let's go ahead and start off with Pacheco. So running back waiver wires. Um, if you're looking to replace Pacheco, not sure if he's going to be available in your leagues, but I know percentage wise, let me take a look to see what his roster percentage is. So he's still 86%. So he's not rostered 100% of leagues, but J.K. Dobbins. So if you're one of the lucky few where he is available on your waiver wires, I think that could be really good replacement for Pacheco. He still had 20 point um, or 15 to 20 points depending on your league scoring this week. So if you again are one of the lucky few where your league has not picked up J.K. Dobbins, especially now that Pacheco went down. I know we talked about him last week, but he's still not at 100%. So I think until they're at 100%, then we can keep discussing. Leo, what about you? Another running back
Well, I think
for Pacheco?
yeah, definitely. I think if you have him, a couple of guys you have to really go after quick is the two that are left there, and in Kansas City, Carson Steele and also Samaje Perine. Right now, Perine is probably more if you're in a PPR league, he's a 7.6% rostered. I think he's gonna do excellent in the PPR, and then Carson Steele is more like if you're in your standard league, and he's only 3.5% rostered. So, those two guys, I definitely think you should go after hard. If he's available, but I would probably lean towards Perine a little more because of the PPR aspect that he has in his game. I have more guys, but
All right.
that's my start off.
Um, Now, another running back that you want to look at, I'm not sure the extent of Kenneth Walker's injury, but if he is out again, Zach Charbonnet had a good showing, 14 times, 38 yards. He also caught all five targets for 31 yards and a score. So again, if Kenneth Walker is out for an extended period of time, I think Charbonnet showed that he can essentially be the substitute. So that's another running back that can potentially help you on your roster if you're one of the people that got affected with Pacheco's injury. But I do like the Chiefs running backs as well, just because of that offense. Anybody else, Leo, the running back?
A couple guys, another couple guys to look at is Bucky Irving. He with Kansas City. I'm sorry, with Tampa Bay. He he's splitting time with Rashad White. Rashad White had a little bit of an injury that he's dealing with as well. Not as major as Pacheco, but Bucky's already been splitting time with him, so it's someone to look at there. And also Tyson Chandler. Both of these guys are under 50% owned. I think Chandler's 40%, and Bucky's like 30 something percent. So those are the guys that you want to take a look at as well.
I do like Chandler. He showed some good things last year, um, and is continuing to show some flashes this year. So before we move on to wide receivers, Michael Rattle. Hopefully, I didn't butcher you. Trade Pittman or be patient. Um, I know he probably hasn't been showing his average draft position so far. But keep in mind that week one, Richardson threw, I think, 3 touchdowns over 50 yards. None of them went to him, but um, I think just because of Richardson, I would be patient. They are playing the Chicago Bears this week. I know they didn't show much against the Packers, but I would be patient with Pittman. Leonard, do you agree?
For me, I would actually try to trade him. Um, this offense is even though um Richardson's been throwing, he throws deep like you said, and Pittman's game is more like in the inside, more underneath routes and stuff like that. And to be honest with you, they don't really throw that much to begin with. So I would try to trade him if you can. See, try to get whatever need that you need, whether you need the receiver or a running back, but try to. Like, you might not be able to get too much from him, but try before it goes worse. But I would try to trade him if you could.
Okay. All right. So moving on
I've,
to what? No, go ahead.
no, no, I had a couple other running backs really quick.
Okay, go
That are a
ahead.
little bit deeper, for people that are in deeper leagues. One is Antonio Gibson. He finally had a good game. He's putting touches there with Ramondre Stevenson. He's at 25.2% rostered and on sleeper. He had over double digit points, fantasy points this week. And then one even deeper is at 20% rostered. The thing is that he's not gonna do this every week, but God forbid something happens to Brees Hall. You want to see if you're in a deeper league, try to pick up Braylon Allen. He had 33 rushing yards, at 27 receiving, but he also had a couple of touchdowns. So there's something to take a look at.
I really like that pickup. If you have the roster space,
Right.
because we all know what's been happening this week. So
Yeah.
knock on wood that if you have Hall and he were to go down, because I know at least the CMC owners, probably not everybody was able to get Mason, to replace CMC. So, if you have roster space, it would be good to prepare. Um, so again, moving on to wide receivers. So my first wide receiver pickup, he is at 81% roster on sleeper, and that's JSN or Jackson Smith and Jigba. I think he finally is showing what he's capable of. It was his first 100-yard game of his career. I know probably people were expecting that in year one, but his sophomore season. He's finally again showing why they drafted him such high round in his rookie year. So that is my first wide receiver pickup. Again, JSN from the Seahawks, 81% rostered in sleeper. Leonard, who is yours?
So for me, I'm gonna go. I try to, I guess, I try to focus on guys that are under 50%. But one guy to try to look for is Rashid Shaheed with the New Orleans Saints. He's steadily becoming like the wide receiver 1A, 1B to Chris Olave. So this week, he had 4 receptions for 95 yards and a touchdown, and the previous week he also had a solid game as well. So he'd be someone to take a look at. Like if these other receivers I'm gonna mention are available, he'd probably be my number one receiver to go after this week. That might be available.
Do agree with that. 56%. I'm lucky to have him already, which is probably why it didn't cross my mind. The only thing with him, depending on your league, if it's CPR or standard, he only had 4 targets. So kind of like Leonard saying, kind of like a 1A, 1B type deal in New Orleans. But that offense, I mean, has scored 40 points in the last 2 weeks,
Yeah, they've been
back
on
to
fire.
back. So um, I'm gonna have to start him because I'm one of the people that has Cup, and Cup went out. So gonna have to start Shahid moving forward. Now, this wide receiver, I'm not saying that he's going to have an extremely good year moving forward because of the quarterback change, but again, if you're one of the ones that were just affected by all these wide receivers being hurt, who knows, you could have Devo and Brown on your roster, and they're both out. But I'm going to go with Adam Thielen now that they are changing quarterbacks in Carolina. He's still showing that he can run routes. Not sure if you guys saw, but there was a clip where it's wide open. Of course, Bryce Young didn't throw it to him, but he's rostered in 36% of leagues in sleeper. And again, until he proves that he's not able to, get open or run routes as well as he has been during his career. Again, it's like Leonard said, it's in a deeper league, or maybe you're just decimated at the wide receiver position. Someone to be on the lookout for. Who's your next receiver?
Um,
You?
so one guy to take a look. I think I kind of mentioned him last week. He only had 2 receptions for 50 yards this week, but Demarcus Robinson. Um, now Cup's out too, so someone's got to start catching balls over there in Los Angeles. So someone to look at there.
Yeah. I know Karen Williams owners are probably thinking, man, I hope that now they just, run the ball more with him. Now that Stafford pretty much doesn't have a lot to people to throw to, and I don't know if I'm gonna keep him on my roster, but Parkinson didn't have
Yeah,
as a good game at all this week, so
yeah,
um,
disappointed with him for
so
sure.
we'll see how he does in this upcoming week. So moving on to tight ends, a tight
Yep.
end that oh, you have some more?
Yeah, I got some more if you want, really quick
Yeah,
for the
go ahead.
deeper leaguers. One is Quentin Johnston from the Chargers. He finally had a breakout game. I have him on my dynasty team. I've been holding him forever, but the second year receiver, he had 5 receptions for 51 yards and 2 touchdowns. So Herbert was looking his way. It's nice to see. Alec Pierce with with the Colts. Instead of Pittman, Pierce has actually been producing. Last week he went over 100 yards. This week he had another 5 receptions for 56 yards and a touchdown. And he's only 22.9% rostered. And then one last one, even deeper. Jalen Tolbert, 6% rostered with the Cowboys. He had 6 receptions and 82 yards. So it's just a couple deeper guys to take a look at there.
I like those. I like Pierce. He's been, one of Richardson's go-to targets. And then with Johnson, I did see that he had a good game. So I don't know, maybe now under Harbaugh, he's gonna do well moving forward. So before we move on to tight ends, Willie McDonald is asking, would you accept this trade, CMC and Ferguson, for JT and Laporta? Just depending on if it's, like a dynasty, like a keeper league, if it's a redraft. CMC is at least going to miss 4 games. Ferguson's out. Jonathan Taylor. Um, I don't know if he's performed to his ADP just yet, but like Leonard's saying, they do like to try and establish the run in Indianapolis. So he is saying it's a PPR, Leonard.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna.
Yeah, I would probably like depending on your situation too. Like if you start off an 0-2, like you need people that are playing. So Ferguson, I heard Ferguson might have a chance to play this week. I was reading a little earlier today, but yeah, if you're hurting, you need to start making some moves because CMC is not coming back like next week. He's coming back in 3 to 4 weeks if we're lucky. So, I would do it for sure, like in redraft for sure.
Another question. So CJ Sargent, trade ETN for Nico and Worthy. If it's PPR, I would, just because Nico's had 2 really good weeks. Seems like the #1 target for CJ Stroud. I have him in both of my leagues, and he's gone over 20 points both weeks. If it's standard, it's a little bit more to think about. But even then, I would still do it just because you're getting 2 players and giving away one.
Yeah,
You think
if you're stacked at running back and he's not gonna, you're gonna still be steady. Yeah, Nico Collins is a stud right now, and Worthy, he might have his hit and miss games, but this guy now is gone for the year. Hollywood Brown, that he has the same kind of game as what Worthy does. So I would definitely, if you're still, like I said, set a running back, yeah, I will go for that for sure.
right? So moving on to tight end. Thanks everyone for the questions. Um, Now this tight end, I feel like every year he has some weeks where he's just amazing, and then he just drops off for like 4 weeks, and then have another one, and it's Hunter Henry. Um,
Yeah,
he had a good week, and then normally I pick him up because he had a good week, and then he doesn't do anything. But I mean, if he's hopefully consistent in New England. He's been there for a while. He's rostered in 22% of leagues, but he had 100 yards. So somebody to be on the lookout for tight end. If you're one of the people that maybe had Ferguson or somebody that got hurt. So that's my tight end to pick up. Who is yours, Leo? And then we will answer these questions.
yeah, he was my #1 guy as well, so I agree with that. Yeah, when you have a when you're hurting, the tight end position is like lacking, and you see someone that goes for 8 receptions for 109 yards, that's gonna get people's attention for sure. So I'll give you my next guy. Um, it's a I have one him and then another one after that. But um, let's go with Zach, all reliable Zach Ertz, man. 9.6% roster. He's he'll give you 10 points, man. Yeah, he went with 4 receptions, 62 yards. Um, he's been one of the most consistent go-to guys for Daniel so far. And he's his security blanket, so he'll be someone to look at in deeper leagues.
All right. So CJ was saying that he is stacked at running back. He has Kamara and Connor. So
Yeah,
yeah,
no, you're
definitely
bye
true.
bye 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 Etienne. See you later.
Yeah. And then Ben Guerra's asking, should I do Jefferson and Waddle for Tyreek and Henry? I would not because we don't know Tua's health.
Yeah,
Um, Tyreek, got drafted, pretty much the best receiver off the board because, that connection with Tua already. But without Tua under center, um, I would, especially if Tua goes on
yeah,
IR, I wouldn't be surprised if Tyreek owners start trying to shop him around. Um, because I don't know if he's going to produce the same. And right now, Sam Darnold has proven these first 2 weeks um, that he is a decent fantasy quarterback. And I'll be again the first to say because I was anti Sam Darnold fantasy owner. Um, Even though Jefferson is dealing with a contusion, but it is a contusion. I don't think it's anything um, more severe than that. So I would hang on to Jefferson and Waddle.
yeah. I agree 100% with that one for sure. Like you don't like I'm a Dolphins fan. I was there when Tua got hurt, and he says he wants to play, but let's see what doctor's gonna approve him to come back and when that's gonna be. And it's gonna be a while, and that this offense is not gonna be the same without him. So um, Jefferson will be, he's still gonna Sam Darnold's there. I know it's hard to believe we're trusting Sam Darnold with Jefferson, but you know, so far so good. So I will stick with the guys you got with Jefferson and
um,
Waddle.
Now, Alfie Hinders asking, should I accept Derrick Henry and Jason for Marvin Harrison? Does
Uh,
that mean that you're gonna get him, or you're gonna give him away? If you're gonna give him away, I would not. If you can get him for them, I would.
yeah,
So just depending again on if you're getting him, yes. If you're getting rid of him, no. Um, Kyler, I regret not drafting him as one of my QBs because he showed um, why he is still fantasy relevant. And I mean, Marvin Harrison had 100 something yards in the first quarter, 2 touchdowns. So um, definitely wouldn't get rid of him.
yeah. I would, yeah. If you It depends on what side you're on for sure. If you're gonna be getting this is first JSN's first big game. If that's is it gonna continue? Who knows? But um, I like the. I think Harrison's just starting. What's gonna happen? What's coming? So, was a little glimpse of what's coming. So um, if you're getting Harrison, go for
um, Now the next tight end, and this is again like very, very deep. Um, I'm not saying it's a must add at waiver wire, but he led the team in targets this past week, and this is Greg Dulcich from the Broncos. So who knows if this is the beginning of Bo Nix a security blanket moving forward. But if it is, he's only rostered in 8% of leagues. Again, I'm not saying um, for that to be your first waiver wire, but it's just someone to keep it on if he keeps leading the keeps leading his team in targets. Who's your next tight end?
My other tight end that I had left is Mike Gesicki with the Bengals. He had he's 9.4% roster, and he had a good game, 7 receptions for 91 yards. The Bengals offense has been really shaky so far. Um, and maybe his production might go down a little bit once T Higgins comes back. But if you just so do keep an eye on that. But he did have a nice game. Like I said, this is for deeper leagues and stuff like that.
I like that. I saw some of those targets. Like you said, depends on T Higgins, but looks like Burrow was looking his way. Now, before we move on to defenses, and Nick is asking, would you trade Flowers and Ford for Puka? Um, so it depends if it's like a keeper league, if it's a redraft. I don't know when Puka's going to be back. If he's on IR, it's a minimum of 4 games. Also kind of depends on your record. So like if you're 0-2, and you're going to get Flowers and Ford, then like Leonard was saying, you need players that are playing. Um, but if you're like 2-0 and you have a good roster to where you're gonna hold on to Puka, hoping he's gonna come back healthy. Um, there's something to think about. But I mean, Flowers has been good. Ford has been okay, and we don't know if Chubb's gonna come back exactly after week 4, even though that's what they have been saying. Um, so those are my thoughts. What about you, Leo?
Yeah, so the trading for Puka is it goes back to that like I was saying before, like depending how you started, if you're 2-0 and you got some guys in depth that you can swing it, go. But if you start off 0-2, and you're getting another person that's gonna IR that you're not gonna be able to use God knows when. That's just something you gotta look at. Um, so I'll probably stick with the Zay Flowers for now. Uh, Even when Puka comes back, Cup is there too. Even though Cup's injured too, but we'll see who comes back first between the two. Uh, but Cup was looking pretty pretty nasty. Like old Cup like a couple years back. So just I'll probably stick with Flowers. He's been doing well so far, and for
All right. So my first defense is going to be a no-brainer. Said this last week. Pretty much anyone that plays, well, who knows? Now with Dalton. So let me change that to the other defense that I was going to say. Um, it's going to be the Colts who face Chicago. Last night, Williams had a really difficult time against the blitz. I'm not saying the Colts have the same defense as the Texans, but um, that might be the winning formula for defenses that play Caleb. Of course, he's going to have to adapt, but if he can't handle the blitz, then people are just going to keep blitzing him. And that might lead to sacks, might lead to interceptions like it did last night. They are rostered in 28% of leagues. So that's my first pickup for defense this week. What about you, Leo?
the defense I like this week is deep, and it's like whoever's playing the Panthers. So this week we got the Raiders, 8%
Well, that's
roster.
what I was gonna say first, but I'm like, let's give Dalton a chance.
Yeah, yeah.
So
No,
let me
yeah.
change the answer.
Dalton might make things better for them. Yeah, it can't get worse, that's for sure. It's just a shame, like Bryce Young. I thought he was gonna. They gave him some weapons. He was gonna improve, and it's just been been brutal. So, but yeah, I will go with the Raiders. There's a lot of tough games this week, so that's something you gotta be careful with the defenses available.
Um, I'm gonna say my next defense, and then we'll go to Hunter's question real quick. Now, I'm not saying to pick them up to start them for this week. I'm saying to pick them up to roster them. But on my sleeper app, they're actually the number one defense, and that has been the Vikings. Over 20 points in both weeks, but this week they play the Texans. So again, I'm not saying pick them up to start them this week, but I would maybe roster them, and I'm actually going to try and do that. Because I didn't know they had that many points. Um, Hunter's question is Tyreek and Henry for Bijan and Wilson. Oh, that's tough. Um, Especially again because we don't know what's going to happen with Tua. But I think I'll pull the trigger if you're gonna get Bijan and Wilson. If you're on the other side, like you're gonna get Tyreek and Henry, then I wouldn't. Just because Wilson's been looking good. Rogers is looking for him. And then I think Bijan is more utilized than Henry, which I'm surprised to say. Because I thought Henry was going to be like an every down back. What do you think, Leo?
Yeah, I agree with that. I will definitely go for the Bijan and Garrett Wilson side. Uh, Bijan not only Henry's not a part of the receiving game at all, and Bijan is, and Garrett Wilson, he's like I said, Tyreek isn't, without Tua, God knows what's gonna happen. So he's not gonna be producing how he's been, and and Wilson still has a Rodgers so far. So I will go to that side for sure.
All right. Your next defense.
My next defense is actually a team that's gonna face my team this week. Let's go with the Seattle Seahawks. Um, like I said, no Tua. They're traveling to the they're traveling to Seattle. It's a long ride. And God knows what's gonna happen with them. So there might be like a streaming defense. Obviously, if Tua was there, I wouldn't even think about it. But um, they were a mess last week, and when Tua went down, they were even worse. So um, yeah, so that's why I think Seattle might be a good streamer.
All right. And then moving on to quarterbacks. So if you're one of the people that lost Tua, um, let me double check real quick what he's rostered in. Um, and while I'm looking at that, do yours, you know.
Sure.
So I want to check
So
just for a second.
my first quarterback to go after is Geno Smith. Like I said, they're playing Miami at home, and he's only 28.6% rostered. This past week he threw for 327 yards and a touchdown, and the NSB, I'm sorry, NSS, and Jackson Sibba, Smith Zibba, he had a good game. Metcalf also had a good game, so they're starting to open things up there with those two, and so the Dolphins might have a tough time dealing with them over there.
All right. So the QB I was going to mention, he's rostered in 69% of leagues, is Baker Mayfield. Looks like um, he may be the real deal when it comes to fantasy quarterbacks. Had two good weeks there, 2-0. Um, he's looking towards Godwin's way a lot. So that is going to be my first QB. Who's your next QB?
My next one's can't believe I'm saying this. Sam Darnold. Uh,
Man, you
20,
took mine, bro.
20% rostered. Yeah, he's has a great connection with Justin Jefferson. He's thrown for 268, two TDs, and an INT. So, yeah, if he's producing, like I said, this is for deeper leagues. Not like you're gonna start him over, Anthony Richardson or Kyler Murray, but some of us are in deeper leagues or in shallow super flex leagues or stuff like that. So it's just someone to look at in deeper leagues, you know, or you lost somebody.
Mm,
Sometimes it's the
so
sometimes the cupboard's bare, so you gotta get what you can get.
yeah, I was gonna say the next guy I'm gonna talk about, kind of the same boat. I would I would rank him higher than Darnold, even though they have the same roster percentage. Pretty much, this guy's 21% in sleeper leagues instead of Carr.
Yeah,
Um, so if you can get either of those, if I had them in either of the leagues, I definitely would have rostered one of them. Since both of mine are super flex, but of course, um, not available either. But those two guys, especially if you lost to I think you'd be really grateful to end up with one of those two um, to replace Tua. Um, and honestly, I would start them
yeah,
until they stop doing good.
yeah. No, he had a great week this past week too. He had 243, two touchdowns. Shaheed is coming up. That's helped him, and once Chris Olave starts going, that's gonna be good as well. Uh,
And that's the crazy part is they're scoring 40 points a game without Olave,
yeah,
breaking out.
yeah. Derek's had a great game. I saw a stat today that they've had like 15 possessions and they've scored on every single possession that they've had. I was like, wow.
Yeah, when they scored on the first six against the Cowboys, I think they're like the 13 minute history to do that.
Mhm.
Um, any other QBs that you got before we wrap things up?
Yeah, so these are a couple other deeper guys. I don't know. Do you have any other guys? If not, I'm gonna roll through
No,
the
I'm
other guys I
good.
have. All right, so the first one, like I said, these are deeper guys to go for. So first one's Justin Fields, 33.3%. He had 117 yards passing, 27 rushing. I don't know if they're gonna have enough. I think he might have done enough because they've won both games, and I think they might think about sticking with him. And he's a dual threat. Obviously, in deeper leagues, we lost Tool. We got to pick up his backup, which is Skylar Thompson right now. Bro, he's basically he's free, 0% roster. So he is going to obviously to an awesome situation, in terms of the talent that's around him. So take a chance, especially like if you're in Superflex. Everyone in Superflex is going to be rostered, so yeah, and he's probably going to be the number one guy, because all these other guys are probably already taken. So that's one to go after, and then like these couple other guys are just like to hold them there just in case things happen. So Jameis Winston, 2.7% rostered. I think I kind of mentioned him last week because Deshaun hasn't been looking too good. I think he actually came in at the end of that game, and the Dolphins also picked up Tyler Huntley today. He's kind of like Lamar Jackson light, as they say. When he took over for him a few years back, he had a you know he had a, he's a dual threat quarterback, and he's free to 0% roster. Like I said, this is like a deeper super flex league, even dynasty. See what happens. God knows what's gonna happen with Tua if he's coming back ever. So hope he does, but you never know.
All right. Question from Abeth. Henry and Terry McLaurin for Kyrie and Singletary. Singletary's been looking decent. Um, with the Giants, um, Kyren Williams, you would assume he's going to get pretty much the majority of the touches, screen passes now that both the wide receivers are out with Nakua and Cup. Um, but I don't know. I don't know about that one. What do you think, Leo?
Um, I would actually think about going for probably for Kyron and Singletary. McLaurin has been very disappointing to me this year. I thought he was gonna have a better year with Jaden Daniels, but so far I don't know, I don't know, he doesn't seem like a wide receiver one to me. Like he may be like a wide receiver three in your team, and Singletary so far he's been you know getting close to like 20 touches a game, or maybe he was. I don't know his stats in front of me, but Singletary's been good, and Kyron Williams, um, they're gonna be looking. He's gonna probably be more active in the receiving game. With all these injuries that have gone on in the Rams. So maybe I'll go. Maybe that I'll lean towards that side a little bit. A little bit by a hair, as they say.
All right. And then last question from Carson. Kirk, Gino, or Rogers as my backup quarterback. Gino had a really good game last week. Um, will he continue that? Hopefully. I mean, Rogers, he hasn't looked terrific, by any means, but he's still Rogers. His throws um, have been on point, especially building that chemistry with Garrett Wilson. But for the upside, I might lean towards Gino. Kirk hasn't, you know, looked stellar in my opinion. So it's between Gino and Rogers. Or Leo might disagree.
Yeah. So yeah, to me, Rogers is last on the list between the other two. Um, I'm looking at the things right now. So far, Kirk has thrown for tonight. He's thrown for 171 yards and a touchdown, which is already better than he did last week. Remember, Kirk, he didn't play. He's coming back from an injury, Achilles injury. Um, he's he played a tough defense. He's playing another tough defense today, Philly, at Philly, and he's hanging in there. So I would probably, if I had to choose right now, probably I lean towards Gino because of the weapons that he has with Metcalf and
And Jason.
Yeah, Jason Sigba. Jigba.
All right. So, um,
But definitely between those two, I will let
d-
Aaron go for now.
all right. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in. This week's episode, instead of being on Friday, is going to be on Thursday. So if you want to tune in for our start/sit episode, tune in on Thursday. Thanks for everyone for tuning in on TikTok or the other streaming services. I promise I'm going to get better at looking at those chats moving forward. But again, if you have questions, feel free to um, tune in on Thursday. Um, that being said, any last remarks, Leo?
Yeah, if you thanks everyone for listening and asking questions. We're here to help as best we can. This is a guide, try to guide you in the right direction. Um, you can if you have any other questions, you could reach out to me at on X at smooth1074, and I also do some articles for Fighting Chance Fantasy. I do a couple articles over there as well. And if you like the show, the podcast, like it, subscribe it, tell a friend. And thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Peace. Have a good night.